recognizing the nexus between drug abuse and insecurity, an imperative of urgent collaboration with youth and government in the task of securing our nation is very apt. This is very apt because some of the youth constitutes either traffickers or consumers. And if either way, or even trying to indulge or compel their peers to also take to drugs. And insecurity in our country today, we have seen the involvement of youth. So it is very imperative that youth are dissuaded from taking part or for getting indulged in drug abuse, because this will aid security in our beloved country. He therefore envisaged that the outcome of this conference will facilitate policy and strategic formulation that will cause the government to conduct establish measures to reduce drug abuse among our youths. And he promised to continue to support Center for Ethical Rebirth among Nigerian youths. So he pledged a token that I will deliver to Barrister Chus Akamodu. Thank you.
We in fact export farmers to other states of the Federation, and therefore we do not import drug abuse to Kebbi State, because United States with the highest hectareage of land, most of the farmers migrate from Kebbi State in addition to what they are doing in the state to go and involve agricultural production and bring thousands of bags to Kebbi State for their own consumption and also to the domestic market. Officially, other governors of Nigeria request the executive governor to show them the secret behind the agricultural productivity in the state. Imo State, Anambra State, and some other states have really engaged the youth, the youth farmers from Kebbi State to go and teach them and establish even how they can succeed in the implementation on Uncle Boro's agricultural program, but they don't know how to go about it. And therefore, you can see our youth are seriously committed in agricultural protection. No idle hands to go and involve in the drug abuse generally. The few miscreants that are there are really being controlled by the majority. And therefore, this conference, in fact, is timely, and Kebbi State is ready to cooperate and collaborate with organizers and the NDLA in the national fight against drug abuse. And we are ready to do any solution. We are given the opportunity to operate. Thank you very much, and God bless everybody.
Today, I would like to emphasize that falling for false or petty promises of drug peddlers is sure to ruin your entire future. You will not only ruin your own lives, but equally the lives of your own friends, families, your villages, societies, and in fact the future of entire countries and regions. And why are countries like in West Africa and in South Asia and other parts, populous parts of the world, so vulnerable? Nearly 40% of Nigerian population is below the age of 15. Similarly, in the Golden Crescent, Afghanistan and Pakistan, it is about 35 to 40%. In Myanmar, Laos, India, it's in the range of 25 to 30%. And so it is no wonder that these are the very places where those found involved in trafficking of cocaine, heroin and precursor chemicals are falling victim, ranging from South America to Africa to South Asia to Southeast Asia. I would therefore like to say to the youth today that they are particularly vulnerable and specifically targeted by drug trafficking rackets across the world. Therefore, you have to be ever more vigilant and not fall prey to the menace. Your own future and the future of your families, societies and countries is at stake. Drug abuse and illicit trafficking has a profoundly negative impact on economic development and stability across the world. The billions of dollars generated from illicit drugs fuel terrorist activities and abet other crimes such as human trafficking and smuggling of arms and people.
Today's event marks an important milestone in our effort to reposition the Nigerian youth in the face of growing drug abuse and the attendant consequences to the life and national economy. This is particularly important in the light of the futility of government effort at various levels to address youth unemployment and general poverty, when drugs abuse among youth form the daily environment. This is in spite of favorable policy environment for you to engage society and worthy partners in our march to greatness as a nation. Our great leader, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Muhammad Buhari, has set the tone for this effort since the signing of the not too young Rome Bill into law in 2018. The task before the Nigerian youth is to take advantage of this political and youth-friendly policy environment to raise the bar of hope for a better life and a better future in the country. One of the greatest hindrances of the fight against drug abuse is the presence of the right passage in the course of orienting our society at both family and societal level. This young engagement in drug abuse will grow to be parents without the moral fabric to raise responsible children in the future. This is even so evident today with the elite and the greater society guilty of the moral burden to raise a responsible family devoid of drugs abuse. It is in the face of these daunting challenges that I find the approach by the Center for the Ethical Repair among Nigerian youth in synergy with the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, who is headed by Brigadier General Buba Moral Retire, and other sister agencies, very useful and impactful. You all be aware that since adoption into office of Buba Moral, the narrative is already changing. I must say, Uber has also demonstrated high level of pedigree since as the military governor of Lagos State would quest for results. His quest for results have always remained intact. When I was coming here, I discussed with the Director of Drugs Law Enforcement Agency of my state and informed him that I'm representing His Excellency in this direction because we are invited by the Center for Ethical Repair among the Nigerian youth. This is also not far from the kind of foundation we are trying to lay in Nasarawa State. But with what I'm seeing today, I will hold by the statute strongly so that I will demonstrate such kind of a conference in Nasarawa State with a view to a conference like this is a big win for this NGO and the agency and others, critical stakeholders, with other sister agencies here in the fight against drug abuse in Nigeria. Your collaborative effort with the development partner to rid the country of drug menace is highly commendable, and we want to thank all the partners that are found worthy of collaborating with you for joining in this laudable effort on fighting this menace and transforming our youth for a better Nigeria. I want to thank you for this opportunity given to me. When I was talking to Barrister Chus yesterday, he said, as a guest of honor, my job here is also to declare this event open, but there were a lot of adjustments But I want to appreciate you most sincerely for this opportunity. His Excellency, the Governor, have given me an undisclosed package.
And effectively prosecute cases of drug trafficking and production. We also supported several bilateral drug law enforcement cooperation initiatives, including with Ghana as well as with India. The project assisted the Federal High Court in the development and application of drug sentencing guidelines and supported the establishment of a network of lawyers, the so-called Legal Advocacy Response to Drugs Initiative, providing pro bono legal defense to drug offenders. The project also supported the Nigerian Federal Ministry of Education in the introduction and rollout of Unplugged, a school-based life skill training aimed to build resilience amongst children against drug use. Since then, students from across 104 federal government colleges participated in the Unplugged training with some encouraging results in terms of reduced levels of drug use, but also an increased readiness to come forward to actually share challenges with regard to drug use and to seek help. The project further trained 15 civil society organizations in the delivery of evidence-based drug prevention, treatment, and care sensitization trainings, and we have since then conducted almost 200 workshops for a very diverse audience, including policymakers, grassroots NGOs, various categories of public officials, of course public health practitioners, as well as community, traditional, and religious leaders. The project helped also to improve the quality of drug treatment services through the delivery of the so-called TreatNet training for over 2,000 health care professionals working in the field of substance abuse disorder. And we have helped setting up drug dependence treatment centers, 11 of them, as well as 7 regional training hubs, including 3 drop-in centers specifically developed and established to cater for the needs of female drug users. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the percentage of people using drugs in Nigeria is alarmingly high. It is almost 3 times higher than what the global average represents. As we heard before, the Nigeria Drug Use Survey of 2018, conducted by the National Bureau of Statistics with the support of UNODC, found that about 14.4% of Nigerians, adult Nigerians, had used drugs in the previous years. And we have already heard, as we have already heard from Mr. Femi from the NDLEA. We also conducted some research into more vulnerable groups to drug use, such as internally displaced persons, people participating in irregular migration, as well as out-of-school children. And the drug use prevalence amongst these is, not surprisingly, far higher than in the average population. However, I'm still to some extent shocked by the levels regardless. Now, in IDP camps, we found that 1/4 of all people living in IDP camps made regularly use of illicit drugs or non-medical use of pharmaceutical drugs. The study into irregular migration found that a shocking number of 60% of all people engaged in irregular migration during the phase of migration resorted to the use of illicit drugs or made non-medical use of pharmaceutical opioids.
Well, for me, I think the past 3 years has been a learning curve for us. But the good news is that as the years roll by, we've been able to take the struggle a notch higher. We are glad that the youth of this nation from across the 36 states of the Federation and the 6 geopolitical zones are beginning to realize that it's time for them to take ownership of the fight against drug abuse. Initially, They stayed away from the struggle, believing in error that it was a matter that is resident within the purview of the government alone. But given the havoc the scourge of drug abuse has wreaked on our collective well-being, especially as regards instability, insecurity in this country, and violent crimes of all shades, it's beginning to dawn on them that there is need for them to take ownership of the fight against drug abuse, run with it, and ensure that they redeem their future. Because looking at it, you would find that what is really at stake in all of this whole thing going on in this country is majorly the future of the Nigerian youth. There is no gainsaying that the bodies statutorily charged with responsibility of doing this struggle or doing this fight are overwhelmed. NDLEA is overwhelmed, NAFDAC is overwhelmed, even security agencies are also overwhelmed. So we are glad that at this point there is a new consciousness, there is a new understanding among the youth of this country that, this thing is about us. We don't have to stand idly by and watch this thing ravage us completely. And that there is need for us to actually embark on a rescue mission in our enlightened self and corporate interest.
Beyond conferences and workshops like this, what other measures has Sierra Leone put in place to help to fight against?
Oh, we go from one secondary school to another. We go from one tertiary institution to another. Also giving them moral instructions, giving them lectures on good citizenship with particular emphasis on why they should stay away from drugs. We do counseling too, free counseling sessions for young people who are either in their formative years, secondary, primary school, or those of them who are in their secondary school, and those of them who are in the tertiary institutions.
Are preoccupied with farming activities, and therefore drugs that have no basis in their dissent. I say, not that nobody, but I say the miscreants that are engaged in drug addiction are few, because they have enough things to do, because people are becoming millionaires in agricultural production and productivity. That's what I say. Exactly. Empty barrels make the... You say?
What can other state governments
learn from
your state?
Yeah, other state governments can learn that you have to preoccupy the youth on productive means. And if you allow them to gallivant about without having serious commitment, because it's not employment, because government cannot give employment to everybody. But this agriculture is employment for everybody. And luckily enough, from time immemorial, everybody in Kebbi State is a farmer. From the basic village person to the governor and to the commissioners and ministers. Everybody has farms. Check anybody in Kebbi State, he is farming. He's a farmer and he's proud to be a farmer. Yeah.